from Florida in 1952. We had been living in Florida for 2 years, except for a couple of months up north, in the summer. But when we went back up north and he got the jobs where he was making a lot of money, and he still wanted to live on the same budget that we had before. He didn't want to increase our standard of living. He wanted to stick to the same standard of living we always had when he wasn't making that much in Florida. So the money started piling up. You notice your checking account is bigger than it was, and you can take out, $1,000 every couple of months and put it into savings. Well, then what do you do with it? Well, that's when he started looking at the stock market, because the guys he worked with, they used to talk about what they were going to do. Now, there were some people, like one of his friends there. I remember when we were going to go somewhere, I don't know what it was. Anyway, Joe's friend that he worked with came over. It was wintertime because they were both wearing winter coats, I remember. And this guy said to Joe something about, well, aren't you going to move to a bigger house or something like that? He said, because we were still living in, our same old house. And Joe said, no, I gotta decide what to do with that money in the bank. And that's when he thought of the stock market, because he wanted to make sure that it would grow as fast as possible, and it couldn't do that just sitting in the bank. So that's when we started looking at the stock market. Joe started it because he knew he was going to keep making that big money, but we were not going to move to a bigger house. And I realized that, and I think at first I was kind of resentful. Why should he make that much money and still live the way we were before? The thinking is that somewhere in the future you're going to have more of everything. And yet that isn't what Joe was thinking. He was thinking of retiring early. And I remember when he said, it was clear as day, he said to me, I don't expect to work more than 20 years. And I said, then what are you going to do? He said, well, by that time we'll have enough money and I can retire. In 20 years? People work until they're 65, don't they? If you're going to retire in 20 years, that means you'll be retired by the time you're 45 or 50. And that, to me, that was not thinkable. People have to go on working, but not to him. He was going to have the money. So how do you do that? You do that by investing properly, and the proper investment is the stock market. And I remember when I talked to Mary about all this, I talked to Camille too, but she had no clue. And when I was talking to Mary and I was telling her about it, she said, I wouldn't go into the stock market. She said, that's too crazy. She said, that's how you lose your money. And then I remembered, it's in the textbooks, in your economics textbooks. You don't lose money, you invest it in the stock market. That's what it's about. And so that's how it came about.